Hello everybody, I'm back again. I know you guys probably wasn't expecting this sort of thing, but such as it is. I figured I would kind of throw this out there because I have told you guys that I am a nurse, but I did not give any further detail on the matter. I have been a nurse now. This year will be 21 years, and more than half of my career has been in correctional nursing. A lot of people are not even sure or have heard of correctional nursing. You of course hear about your ICU, your ER, your labor and delivery, your nursing home, but correctional nursing is specific to jail and prisons, and it comes with its own entirely individual subset of patient needs, patient care type, and people. I mean, it takes a particular breed to work in this environment and to work with these particular types of patients. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give you guys a day in the life with me, and it's not going to be anything crazy. Do not be expecting that. I tell people all the time, the stuff that you see on your TV shows, like your 60 Days In and your prison documentaries and stuff like that, that is not how it is here. That is edited for TV. That is salaciousness, and for the most part, I mean, you're not going to see stuff like that. Mind you, I mean, of course, there are things that happen. Fights do kick out. People do bad things to each other. And I have seen that happen plenty of times over the years. But for the most part, day-to-day work within the correctional system is fairly mundane. So while I've got you, I figured I would share some of the questions that have been asked of me over the years and give you the answers that I have given in retort as to, best answer them. The first thing is, why corrections? Well, I actually got into corrections just as an opportunity to learn something new. Over the last 20 some odd years, well, and even longer than that, before I even got into nursing, I was one of those kind of people that I always had multiple jobs just because I like having security. I don't want to have to worry about emergencies happening and not having income to ensure that I'm taken care of and that my animals and my household are managed. So there's that. But with nursing, it took on a whole new feeling to it because I became the type of person that if I had not ever done something, then I wanted to learn how to do it. So every time I've had an opportunity to bridge out into another area, I took it. So I, of course, have done corrections. I've done nursing home work with geriatrics. I have done rehab, which is physical rehab. I have done drug rehab nursing. I have done what's called occupational health, which is, case management and job injuries and safety regulation and investigation. So I have a lot of experience that is not just singly withheld within a hospital setting. And I like to be able to do that so that once the time comes, should I have something present to me, I am prepared to be able to address it and to provide the level of care that my patients deserve. So there's that. But the opportunity presented for me to go into work into the prison, and I took it, not having any clue when I first got there that I would actually end up loving it. The other environments that I've worked in, you deal with a lot of angry patients, you deal with a lot of entitled patients. The hospitals, sometimes nursing homes, they treat it like they're at a health spa and you're their wait staff and not their nurse. And I understand that, and I do care about what I do, and I enjoy helping people. Otherwise, I wouldn't do what I do. But having a patient run you in and out of a room 10 times to go grab 10 different things, little things that they probably don't even need, when you're worried about the person in the next room who's in the process of dying or who is so critically ill that their attention isn't, oh, I'm sorry, not their attention. Your attention is actually more needed with them than popping and fetching. In the correctional system, you do not have that. I do have people who show up who are angry, who are belligerent, who have cussed me out. I've been called everything but the daughter of Christ over the last 21 years, and it does not faze me. But 9 times out of 10, when that happens, usually the patient later on says, I'm sorry about what I said to you. I didn't really mean that. I was in my feelings, and I just kind of lashed out at everybody that I saw. So there's that. Dealing with prisoners, they are in a particular situation where they don't have the ability to actually do too much of anything for themselves in relation to their health. They can't just get up and go get a Tylenol because they've got a headache. They can't just take medication because their nose is running from seasonal allergies. And they form a symbiotic sort of relationship with the medical staff, especially the nurses. And everything that you do for them, they are appreciative of, which makes that relationship even more close-knit. Mind you now, there is no personal relationships between staff and inmate. However, you can say to this inmate, how are you doing? I heard you were saying you were going to call your mom. How did that go? Is everything okay? You can have those small little conversations without breaking the barrier of professionalism. And that is the type of work that we do. We deal with not only their physical health, but we deal with their mental health, their psychosocial interactions, addressing their Maslow's hierarchy of needs at times. And that is all encompassing. That's not picking and choosing patients. That's across the board. I have been asked how I could possibly feel safe working with prisoners. Yes, I work with murderers and rapists and child molesters and things of that nature. I've worked with some very high-ranking gang members. There was one that he is upper echelon in a particular gang that wears red. And he was not very well liked by most of the staff. But he would come in because he had high blood pressure. And he would come in early in the morning, first thing before breakfast, and he would sit down, and I would tell him, you have to sit for about 10 minutes, so just relax. And he would sit in the office with me for about 10 minutes, and he would always have a book with him. We would talk about what book he was reading and what he liked about it and what he didn't like about it. And eventually, he and I were okay with each other enough that he would actually come to me with things that he needed help with that he didn't feel like he could trust other people with. And that is a big thing. That is a level of respect that will get you a long way in the type of work that I do. He actually told me one day, he says, as far as I'm concerned, you're worth your weight in gold because you treat me and all these other men here like people and not numbers. He says, we don't see a lot of that, and that means so much more than you'll ever know. That being said, that sort of interpersonal behavior allows me to be able to do my job effectively, because by being firm, fair, consistent, open to discussion, and non-judgmental, you gain the respect of the population that you take care of, which means less pushback, which means less of the being cursed at or threatened and things of that nature. So between that and the fact that no matter where I go, I have always had an amazing security staff, I don't ever feel unsafe. I have been asked what is the craziest things I've ever seen in nursing, and that will be a video for a whole other day. Because some of them, they take time. They just take time. I have asked, why do I even like correctional nursing? And a large part of that for me is we are overall in this country and lacking in patient education. I have had people take medication and have absolutely no idea why they are taking it, what it is for, and what it does. And what they need to do in order to make that medication more effective and to improve their health overall. Now, in the hospitals, because of the fact that they are very overloaded in relation to nurse-patient ratio, which is a highly unsafe, and it makes the nursing care very ill-effective, it makes it almost impossible in that environment. When it comes to nursing homes, you are dealing with people who have done things a particular way, probably for majority of their life, if not their whole life. So attempting to educate them and encouraging them to deviate from bad behaviors is going to be almost impossible. You're going to be having an uphill battle and arguing with someone whose blood sugars are 300 plus, who, while you're giving them insulin, is sticking a whole candy bar in their mouth. And I say that because I have actually had that happen. Whereas in corrections, a good 95% of the population doesn't have a regular healthcare provider. They do not go to see anyone like me or like my mom when she was alive, or any other health provider unless they're in an emergent situation. So you're talking strictly ER visits, which goes back to the hospital, which means your nursing staff, your physician is in and out, and your nurses are so overloaded that they don't have the time to sit down and have those discussions with these patients. Whereas me, they come into my office. It is me, it is them, and it is one security staffer. A visit with me averages about a half an hour because I do their full assessment, poke, prod, mash, check everything out. Not just what they're complaining about, but I look at everything. And then from there, I recommend to them, here's the best course of what to do to manage what is actively wrong with you. Then I discuss with them everything else. As an example, the gentleman who I spoke about earlier, who said I was worth my weight in gold, despite the fact that he was on hypertensive medication, he was not 100% compliant. He ate a lot of very high salt foods because, as you can imagine, the commissary in jails and prisons is all fast food, processed food, and things of that nature, and all loaded with preservatives. I sat down with him and had a lengthy discussion with him about the fact that what he is doing is going to cause his body long-term damage. And given the fact that overall he was in a rather good state of health, he was very tall, he was lean and muscular, but his blood pressure was too high. I explained to him the need for controlling his sodium intake, the necessity for ensuring that he is hydrated effectively throughout the day, and I pushed, get that cardio in. You get to go out to the rec yard almost every day. You need to go out there and walk at least 20 minutes every day while you're out there. Now, if you want to do your weightlifting set, that's fine. Knock yourself out. But this is important. And of course, like most men, he hemmed and hawed, but I feel fine. And I broke down for him, look, you neglect this and eventually you're going to start to lose your eyesight. And since you love to read, that's not going to be beneficial to you. Eventually, your kidneys are going to start to have problems, and you're not going to be able to urinate effectively, and you're not going to want to be on dialysis because it makes you so supremely sickly feeling, and it saps all of your energy away. And of course, he didn't bat an eye at either of those. He just kind of nodded. He was not receptive, like most men are not. They tend to have this, well, I feel okay, so I'm okay type of mindset. So I hit him kind of where it hurt. I took it to the most uncomfortable place that I could possibly. And of course, like I said, there is an officer there with me witnessing this the whole time. So I don't have to worry about the conversation going somewhere it really shouldn't. But I know how important the male organ is to men. So I told him, word for word, I know you don't seem to be worried about the fact you're not going to be able to see or urinate, but the longer you put this off, the more damage to your circulation there's going to be, that eventually your sergeant is not going to salute you anymore. And the look on his face was priceless. And it's sad that it takes that sort of level of shock to get men to pay attention. But you do what you got to do. But his eyes were as large as dinner plates, and he's like, he can really do that? And I told him, yes, eventually, with time and continued neglect, it will do that. He was shocked, but it registered finally. A light bulb went on, and you could see it. And that, for me, is the moment that is rewarding about my job. Being able to see that light bulb go on, to have them finally understand what is going on with their body and why things are happening the way they're happening for them. From there, I reiterated the necessity for cardio, for maintaining a healthy diet low in sodium, and ensuring that he was more than adequately hydrated throughout the day. To which he nodded and said, I understand. Thank you so much. Now, that was the last conversation that I had with him about that. I am really generally not the type of person to harp at people when I see them frequently. Anytime he would come in after that to have his blood pressure checks done, and if it was a little high, I would just kind of... And, you know, that's really all it takes. But again, the seed was planted with that initial dress down with him. I went on about my day, went on about my regular routine, and kept on as things usually do. He came back to me probably 2 months later because all of his medication was issued single dose, one pill at the time. In DOC, there are people who qualify to keep their medication on them and to self-administer. But we do have those ones that we actually have to issue pill by pill. And for him at the time, with certain medications, because they were very, very expensive, those had to be issued individually. 5:30 in the morning, he comes up to the window because he is actually he eats a kosher meal. He comes up and he says, guess what? I said, I don't know, what? He said, I went to my checkup with Doc and I started doing what you told me to do. Every day when I go out to the rec yard, I walk for 20 minutes before I do my workout. And I said, well, good. I'm glad you're doing that. It's really going to benefit you. Trust me on that. It will make you so much more healthy, and you'll add so much more longevity to your life. And he said, oh, I know, but guess what? Guess what? He was so excited. He was giddy, almost like a little kid. I said, what is it? Tell me what it is. He said, since I started doing that, he says, I've lost 15 pounds. And like I said, he wasn't a large guy. He was very healthy. He was muscular. He was very lean, but he did have, obviously, a little bit of weight on him. And that's just because a lot of the prison systems and jail systems, majority of their diet is carbs in combination with little activity. But he was so excited about losing that 15 pounds that he says, guess what else? He was ecstatic. I said, what is it? What's up? He said, they cut my medication dosage in half. He says, I'm not taking 10 milligrams anymore. I'm taking 5. And in that moment, you could see that he was proud of himself. And that sort of thing is very hard to come by for patients like this and gentlemen like this one. These folks, some of these folks that you deal with in the prison system usually are not accustomed to performing positive things and receiving a positive feedback as a return. So the fact that he was able to do that, and he did something positive and got a positive end result, that was a big deal. That's why he was so excited. He had never had that happen before, I imagine. And that moment for me, between the light bulb and seeing it in action and seeing the end result, was incredibly rewarding for me. Those sorts of things are the reasons that I keep suiting up and going to work every day. Even on the days when things are hard and I'm running wide open and nothing is going right, that is my reward, and that is what keeps me doing it. So, there's that. I can't think of any other questions right offhand, but the ones that I have hit upon are the most frequent. And I have given all the reasons why and examples. So that being said, from this point forward in the tape, I'm going to be you're going to go to work with me for a day. Now, once upon a time, prior to this particular facility, I worked in DOC, and I ran a whole compound by myself, me and 1,500 guys, doing med passes, diabetics, dealing with emergencies, paperwork, all of it. And it was very challenging, but I did not mind. I have worked at a larger county jail in the capital of Florida, and that was probably about the same. And it was constant, just run. Now, the facility that I am at now is also in North Florida, and it is actually very small. I was really quite surprised when I started working there because the patient population is only about 100 people. A med pass for me takes 20 minutes, which I am not used to. In the other county jail that I worked at, med pass took 3 hours. In DOC, med pass takes 3 hours. So I was kind of caught off guard. But now I actually am able to even more establish a one-to-one interpersonal sort of interaction with these people, talking to them about what they're doing with their bodies, talking to them about their health choices. And I have seen positive results for that, but ideally, no situation is perfect. So, that all being said, now that I have talked your ear off for 20 minutes, here's Go to Work With Me.